Hello, thank you for listening to A Glimpse of the Kingdom. I'm Dr. David Pendergrass. Through the years, a common question that I receive is, David, basically, or Dr. Pendergrass, can homosexuals be Christians? In fact, not too long ago, I received an email from a friend who asked me several questions related to that. So I'm just going to read to you what I wrote to him, and hopefully that'll be helpful for you, and here's my view. He says, "Hello, Pastor David, I have questions to ask you. Now, as Christians, we do not agree nor believe in homosexuality. 1. However, can homosexuals be Christians? 2. If God made us in His image, why does homosexuality exist? 3. Can you be born gay? 4. If we should love our people as we love yourself, should we love homosexual people as well? 5. Why are fellow Christians so hard on homosexuals, but we are supposed to love everybody?" I'm curious about these questions because as a Christian, I want to know how to act toward homosexuals. I know I shouldn't condemn them, but what should I do? Or how should I act around them? And I said, "Hey, brother, these are great questions and evoke intense anger, frustration, and fear for a lot of people. I can't stand to think of all the homosexuals who have been hurt and killed and committed suicide because of stupid hate acts done toward them. So I don't talk about this lightly. I don't take this flippantly. It's a very profoundly important topic. For a lot of people, in fact, just talking about the subject alone is offensive. Instead of, if anything, so far I haven't said the words, it's good, it's fine, and it's do whatever you want to do. As soon as those words don't come out of your mouth, a lot of people get very upset because of these personal issues. They have family members. If you're listening right now, you know somebody who is homosexual, either because they're doing it in secret or they're practicing or you have a relative. It's a very relatable personal issue, and I get that. So I don't take these questions lightly, and I'll do my very best to not be insensitive, okay? I'll just respond to every one of them. Okay, number 1, how can homosexuals be Christians? The answer is yes. You said that, quote, "we do not agree nor believe in homosexuality," which is true if nuanced. The Christian view, according to the New Testament, is that homosexual behavior is sinful. So, attraction is irrelevant, ethically speaking. The ethical issue only concerns behavior. Like my desire to lie is not sinful, lying is sinful. Christians can most certainly be attracted to the same gender. There's no different from any personal preference. This is no different at all. Our attractions to chocolate or pizza or a particular gender are not ethical. So can you be Christian if you actively participate in and embrace homosexual behavior? Well, the answer in the New Testament is no. Now, later on, I'm going to give a whole bunch of verses. But the fundamental tenet, this is a big deal. The fundamental tenet of being a disciple of Jesus is denying our wills and picking up our crosses to live according to the kingdom of God. That's Mark 8:34. That's fundamental. If you're a disciple of Jesus, now let me say this, maybe I should have said this first. If you don't believe in God, if you think there is no God, homosexuality is irrelevant. All through the animal kingdom, same-gendered animals pair up with other same-gendered animals. Who gives a rip if there's no God? And if you're listening to this and you're not a Christian, I'm real confused anyway why are you even listening to it, because just go live go live your life. In the Christian worldview, because it is true, it matters how we understand sexuality because God designed it. It just matters. If I built a game for my child and he never asked my opinion on how to play the game, he's going to play it wrong from time to time because he doesn't know the rules. Well, God designed this universe. He designed humans. He designed us. And He designed the moral law. And so it matters very much how the Creator designed us to live. And He knows the very best way for us to do it. So, obviously, I'm giving my answers based on a Christian worldview. And from a Christian worldview, a fundamental tenet of everything we do and believe and say, everything is supposed to be that we deny our own wills whenever it is counter to the kingdom of God. Whenever. Now, what you have to deny and what I have to deny depends on the person. No matter, we all have attractions to deny. That's really important because it's just important. I get a little frustrated when Christians just say, it says in Leviticus or it says in whatever. Well, that's not why. The point is we start with the foundation. Ground zero is we need to make sure that every decision we make, whatever it is, ethically speaking, is according to the kingdom of God. Then whatever we have to deny depends on the person and so forth. Now, some Christians have argued that it's only because of the sinful state of humans that a person would even want to do what is sinful. They're called Calvinists. Now, perhaps they're right. That is, maybe the reason why a person is even attracted to the same gender is because they're a sinner. Maybe they're right. I don't think so. But in any case, what's more clear from the Bible is that behavior is the issue, not the attraction. Now, this is a very huge point to articulate well. The average non-Christian makes no distinction between attraction and behavior. And this is really based on the groundbreaking Kinsey reports of the 1950s. Alfred Kinsey, Wardell Pomeroy, and Clyde Martin wrote a book called Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, and then they did a similar one for the female in the 1950s. And there's a lot of information in it. But overall point basically is if humans do it, and if it doesn't hurt anyone, then it's only natural to act out sexually however you want. And again, I would completely concur with them if I shared their worldview. If there is no God, then there's no higher design to human behavior, so it doesn't matter what you do. Moreover, it is commonplace among many secular psychologists to suggest that if you don't act out sexually how you feel so inclined, it is unhealthy for you. It damages you. Now, both of these views, that there is no distinction between attraction and behavior, and it's unhealthy if you don't act on your impulses, is clearly unchristian. And we must constantly remember that in nearly every single conversation you ever have with a gay person, or someone who supports gay lifestyle, that person will almost certainly assume that their inclination means they must act on it. They join disposition with behavior. Now, this is a huge distinction with the Christian worldview. Now, the truth is, this emphasis on only doing what comes naturally only holds for certain acts of sexuality. You'll find few non-Christians who suggest that if a person has an attraction toward his baby sister, that he should go certainly proceed in having sex with her, no matter how much they say they love each other. Pedophiles are kept in separate regions of prisons because they are routinely beaten and killed. It seems even the worst criminals believe that attraction doesn't mean you give in. So, when people say, I have an attraction, therefore it's bad not to act on it, that's not true. They mean there are certain behaviors I should be able to do if I have the attraction. Well, and then my question is, why? Why are there certain attractions that are okay? If you're a non-Christian, I don't know why. Non-Christian, if you're just an evolved primate, then do whatever you want to do. I really don't understand why that doesn't make any difference to, pedophilia, bestiality. I don't know. What possible difference does it make if we're evolved primates? Since there is a God and the Christian worldview is true, well, then it very much matters what we do with our body because we've been designed. So my point here is, being a homosexual, that is to say, having a preference to the same gender, is not at all a sin. Can you be a Christian? Yes. Yes, there are many, 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 many gay Christians around the world. Can you be a Christian if you deliberately embrace homosexual behavior and think that God has kind of baptized all that behavior? That's why I don't find that compelling at all. The New Testament has overwhelmingly evidence against that view, that the behavior. And my second point of that was only to say, when you talk to a non-Christian, not in general, they will absolutely conflate or join together attraction or desire and behavior. So you got to do it. If I have a strong attraction to a woman, and even though I'm married, I've got to have sex with her. That's what my natural inclinations are. And if you say, no, you shouldn't do that, that's calling it affair, the response is going to be, what difference does it make? In fact, that's exactly what many, many, many non-Christians say today. What difference does it make? We're not built for monogamy. That's in the press all the time. There's a brand new Hollywood actress or actor coming out every other day saying, we're not built for monogamy. We're not built for that. It's wrong. You should be able to sleep around with whoever you want to sleep around with. That's not in the Christian worldview. It's a different worldview issue. And now, this is not a podcast on which worldview is true. I'm only saying it's a different worldview issue, and I respect their different worldviews. I just think only one is right. 2, the question was, if God made us in his image, why does homosexuality exist? This is a good question. This is a very common one. Idols and images in the ancient world were used to represent the god's authority in that region, or the emperor's authority in that region. Being made in the image of God, in Genesis 1:26, only means one particular thing in context. That is, humans represent God's authority to rule over animals, plants, and the earth. This is profound in the ancient world. Other creation stories said that humans were created to serve their gods as slaves and do other things. Not so among ancient Hebrews. Hebrews believed that we were created not to serve God, we were created to rule over the earth and so forth, and of course love each other and love God. So this text has nothing to do whatsoever with sexual orientation. Being made in the image of God is about who is the ruler over animals and plants. It has nothing to do with whether or not I find some person attractive or what I do with sex. It has nothing to do with the topic at all. 3, can you be born gay? Well, I think you mean by born gay that a person has a genetic disposition. If that's so, of course that's possible. There doesn't seem to be a gay gene. That is, I don't know of any evidence that exists at this point that you, in DNA, you say, oh, that's the gene that makes them gay. I don't think that exists. But now, however, certainly our brain produces various chemicals and hormones that affect our attractions. Sure it does. And that, mixed with all kinds of social influences, no doubt affect our orientation, straight and gay. So I don't think it's unlikely at all that our genetic makeup greatly affects our attractions. Again, they don't determine our behavior, just our attractions. 4, well, let me know before I go on there to say, again, this is where you always hear, but gay people are born that way, they're born that way, they're born that way, they're born that way. Again, the assumption is back to what I've already addressed, because the assumption in a non-Christian worldview is if you're born that way, you should act on it. And to that I say, I could be born a pedophile. I could be born to be attracted to animals. There are many people who claim such things. I've always wanted to be with my dog. And whatever. What I'm saying is, even though they might be born with those inclinations, it doesn't mean that we have to really, it's moral to act on it, even for non-Christians. But for Christians, of course, it is absolutely irrelevant if you're born a certain way. In the Christian worldview, you're born into a world that is full of sin, and you're influenced by it immediately. So just because you're born with anything doesn't mean that it's okay to do it. That would be nonsense in the Christian worldview. 4, the question that my friend said, if we should love our people as we love yourself, all people as we love ourselves, should we love homosexual people as well? That's a great question. The answer is yes, yes. Jesus didn't say to love our heterosexual neighbor as ourselves. He said to love our neighbor in Mark 12:29-31, particularly verse 31. What did Jesus mean? He meant to care for their good as much as we care for our own good. Do you care about shelter? Help them find it. Do you care about food? Help them find it. Do you care about healthy relationships? Help them find it. Do you care about clean water? Help them find it, and so on. And this goes for our enemies, Matthew 5:44. Gays, murderers, gossips, thieves, everybody. If we only attempt to, quote, love people who don't sin or even don't have inclinations, then we won't be loving anybody, nor will anyone love you and me. So what do we do to them? We love them, for crying out loud. There's nothing complex at all about that issue. You love on them. You care for their good. No matter who it is, no matter what they do. That's absolutely foundational to the Christian worldview. You care for them. His 5th question, my friend says, why are fellow Christians so hard on homosexuals if we're supposed to love everybody? That's a great question. And of course, I don't know for sure, but I can think of at least 2 reasons. 1, certain Christians are simply keenly aware that homosexual behavior isn't what God designed the human machine to do, and they get worked up about it. And this can happen when we think about those who murder, lie, cheat, steal, whatever. Sometimes people just kind of let their emotions get away with them, and they go, that just drives me crazy. It's so wrong. Why do they do that? Blah, blah, blah. Now, I think when they do that, it leads to those picket signs that say, fags go to hell and all that stuff. And I'm telling you, that violates every single possible practice of a Christian. Jesus would have never supported holding signs that say that kind of stupid, offensive, hateful crap. So even if you do get worked up about it, it doesn't mean at all you ever stop acting like Jesus. I know Christians can do that. They can sin. We need forgiveness. I get it. But the other reason maybe why Christians can be so hard is I think mainly it's just easy to do so. Humans tend to pick on people who are easily definable and they're other. It's one reason why it was easy for the Nazis to pick on the Jews. As soon as we label a group as the bad guy, bad girl, it gets the focus off our own sins and it helps us change the spotlight. Of course, neither one of these reasons are good. I'm only saying they can be hard on them. One is, I guess the only way to say hard on a homosexual is if you say, if I think it's not what Jesus would support, that doesn't mean you're being hard on them. You're just saying, I don't think Jesus would support it. But in my behavior toward them, I'm not supposed to be hateful, mean, and whatever. And I'll talk about that more in a second. One really sad thing about this fact is that the Bible doesn't pick on homosexuals. What I mean is, none of the authors do. While there are certainly a constant theme against that behavior, there is a constant theme against that behavior in Leviticus 18:22, 20:13, Matthew 19:3-12, Romans 1:26-27, 1 Corinthians 6:9-10, 1 Timothy 1:8-10. By the way, every single Jew who has ever written anything in Judaism until the last couple of decades, and every Christian that has ever written anything in the last few decades, that is to say, almost every Jew and Christian for the last several thousand years would concur that God did not design human sexuality to be outside of male and female marriage. So it is a profound, overwhelming, constant theme that the only appropriate behavior for for sexuality is within a man and woman getting married. Jesus says this specifically in Matthew chapter 19. Matthew 19, Jesus does not say, don't practice homosexuality. Homosexuality is a modern word anyway. Jesus says that man and woman should get married. And if not, they should be a eunuch, and that means celibate. So Jesus holds to the view that every single Jew held to, everybody, which is, it's common sense to them. God designed man and woman to be together married. That's what Jesus says in Matthew 19. It's not a metaphor. It's not hyperbole. He's not telling a parable. He just tells it in Matthew 19. Now, what's interesting, even though there's a constant theme against the behavior is most certain, don't miss this, that behavior is most certainly not considered one of the biggies. All sins are not on the same level of severity or influence as is made clear from multiple passages. Like Jesus speaking vehemently against blaspheming in Matthew 3:29, or causing, quote, a little one to sin, Matthew 18:6. While all sins matter, yes, Christians should remember which sins are actually emphasized in the New Testament. Again, notice what kinds of things are considered sinful and the repeated lists. There are a whole bunch of things we call vice lists in scholarship, and they're all through the New Testament. Places like Mark 7:21-22, Romans 1:29-31, 13:13, 1 Corinthians 5:10-11, 6:9-10, 2 Corinthians 6:9-10, 12:20-21, Galatians 5:19-21, Ephesians 4:31, 5:3-5, Colossians 3:5, 3:8, 1 Timothy 1:9-10, 2 Timothy 3:2-5, Titus 3:3, James 3:15, 1 Peter 2:1, 4:3, 4:15, and Revelation 9:21, 21:8, and 22:15. There's a lot of them, and almost the exact same sins are listed over and over and over. Homosexuality is listed in several of them, but not all of them, but in several of them. But it's never given primary dominance. Even in Romans 1, when Paul talks about it, he doesn't say, boy, of all the possible bad sins to have, you sure don't want to do this. For Paul, homosexual or homoerotic behavior is just one of the many signs that the created order is coming unraveled. It's one of the signs that when Paul says God gave them over to their lusts, he let them loose. And it's not considered the worst possible sin, while others are considered worse, according to Jesus, like blaspheming against the Spirit or himself, or causing little ones to sin, being self-righteous, and so forth. There are many examples that Jesus does emphasize that are, as it were, a bigger deal. My point only is this: Christians oftentimes make homosexual behavior one of the chief possible sins there is. What I'm saying is the Bible does not. It is not what God designed. It is a sin to behave that way, but it's listed amongst gossip and lying and, of course, also murdering and so forth too, but it's not considered one of the biggies. And the last question, my friend says, I'm curious because as a Christian, I want to know how to treat homosexuals. So how should I act around them? This is what I'm going to tell you. Treat them as you want to be treated. Matthew 7:12. Jesus said that, not David, not Joel Osteen. Jesus said, treat others as you want to be treated. That's how you treat homosexuals. Even practicing homosexuals. The grand leader of the homosexual parade in San Francisco, California. You treat him or her as you want to be treated. Really, it's that simple. You love them. That is, you care for their good as you love yourself. That's what Jesus said. You love them as you love yourself. You lead by example. You pray for them. There is absolutely no room whatsoever for making fun of them, insulting them, hurting them, making jokes on their behalf, or any other insulting, demeaning, or devaluing behavior. It makes me angry, personally, when Christians make jokes. And I've heard all kinds of jokes in my life. God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. It's so funny. See, those kind of hateful, unchristian, rude jokes ruin the cause of Christ, and they are not like Jesus. It is not funny to make fun of people. If they were murdering pedophiles, I still wouldn't make fun of them. It's not what Christians do. It's not what Jesus does. It's not what he did. It's not what he does. If they ask you what you believe, practicing homosexual, then tell them the truth with gentleness. Paul says in Galatians 6:1, you tell the truth with gentleness. If a gay person lives out that lifestyle and embraces homosexual behavior, then you will disagree with them, yes. But it sure is difficult to get that wood chip in their eye when you and I have our own planks to deal with. Matthew 7:3. Leave their behavior and what God does with them up to God. God designed us, and only God will judge us in the end. So get busy loving them, speaking the truth in love when needed, and leave the fate of their souls up to the one who owns us all, God. David, does that mean, he didn't say this, and now I'm going to add this one. David, does that mean I should never ever tell them that it's a sin or open up their eyes and try to convert them and so forth? Well, you do that as much as you think the Spirit leads. My goodness. Should we tell our testimony? Yes, and so forth. Are they going to disagree with you? Yeah, probably so. Probably so. Like for all the reasons I've said, some people are just going to disagree with you because they're not a Christian. They don't hold to the Christian worldview. They're going to say, what possible difference does it make who I have sex with? How does it hurt you? How does it affect you? What I do in my home doesn't affect your home. To that I'm going to say, so if I murder someone in my house and it doesn't affect your family, I can murder whoever I want to murder. Well, that's just silly. That's just silly. We don't decide ethics based on whether or not it hurts someone else. That's not what we do. That's just not what we do. Anyway, the point is you're going to have people disagree with you. That's fine. But when they disagree with you, you should not be disagreeable. That's not like Jesus. So I'm begging you, dear Christian, I'm begging you. Stand up for truth, yes. But please do it with as much gentleness, concern, and compassion and kindness as possible. And if they want to know why do you think homosexual behavior is wrong? What's wrong with that? They were born that way. Be able to explain to them that the birth of a person's desire is irrelevant when it comes to the behavior. Explain that as best you can. Tell them about how there is a God and God designed us, and I care very much about how God designed us and how He wants us to live. And had I not known how God revealed how humans are to live, I would agree with you. It's just that God did reveal how He wants us to live. He revealed it over and over and over and over in the Old and New Testament, and it's not even hyperbole, it's not exaggerative, it's not opaque. He made it very clear that He thinks human sexuality should be expressed between man and woman in marriage. Now, in modern Western society, what I just said is profoundly stupid and backwoods and closed-minded and awful. How dare you tell someone what to do with their body? It's who I am, where sexuality is just fully embraced. It's who I am. Everything in my life is all about sex and me. And we've become so overwhelmingly inundated with the constant talk and view and exposure to sex that I would say from a Christian worldview, we've gotten all screwed up. My sexuality is not who I am. It's not who I am. It's part of my brain's activity. It's part of my brain and body, sure. But my soul isn't sexual. My body is. My creaturely state is. And that's part of who I am, but it's not who I am. It's not who I am. Of course, in the Christian worldview, we'd say very easily, in the world to come, we're not having sex anyway. Jesus said that. If someone tried to trick him and say a woman's husband dies, and then he marries a brother, and another guy, over and over and over and over. She has 7 husbands. In the world to come, whose wife is she? And he says, none of them. Because in the world to come, we will be like the angels, neither married nor given in marriage. Now, all Mormons think you are married forever and ever, and you populate a planet. Unfortunately, Jesus disagrees with Mormons. Jesus believes that we're not married. Now, why is that? Probably because the average Jew believed you got married to have kids. And he's saying you don't have children then. You won't be propagating the species in the world to come. So sexuality won't matter. We're not having babies. And I would dare say, while it matters now, it's not the defining characteristic of who we are. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to A Glimpse of the Kingdom. To listen to other podcasts, go to iTunes and search up A Glimpse of the Kingdom. A Glimpse of the Kingdom. There you can subscribe to all the podcasts. They'll be automatically updated to whatever program you use, or of course through iTunes. Or you can go through my website, davidpendergrass.com. If you want more information about the marriage retreats that I lead, or more information about the consulting that I do, go to davidpendergrassconsulting.com. If you'd like to contact me directly, find me on Twitter at Dr. D. Pendergrass, at Dr. D. Pendergrass, and I will do my best to respond to your Twitter comment or question, and maybe even address your issue on the air on my podcast. I'll see you online.